Funko, like the Beanie Baby before it, you had a good run, and now it's all over. My name is Matt, and I'm addicted to Funko Pops. 4 years since I kicked my pop habit and quit collecting these things for the most part. Sure, they find their way into my basket from time to time, but back in 2019, I was addicted to collecting these things. Buying ones I didn't need because they were $12, no big deal. Plus, it was cool to have a character from a TV show, cartoon, comic book, or movie that I was a fan of as a kid or even as an adult. Breaking Bad, my favorite show of all time, the Funko Pops from the show, I like them, sure, but I don't need them. It was just too easy to get hooked into buying these things. Being a collector and having an addictive personality, I found myself buying multiple pop figures a week, so that those totals at the end of the month were still very high, even though each figure was only $12 at the time. If you collect Funko Pops, you've definitely heard by now that they plan to destroy $30 million worth of product that they currently have in sea containers in their warehouse in Arizona. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 million pop figures that they plan to destroy. Why not just donate it? Well, it's probably actually more cost effective to the company to just destroy them, which is crazy. Last year, Funko announced that they would be shutting down their warehouse in Everett, Washington, which is where the company started out. Not a good sign. Things just keep getting worse for this company as the year goes on. Layoffs, destruction of $30 million worth of product, and their stock is in the shitter. Yeah, I'd say the future does not look bright for this company. Is this the beginning of the end for Funko? Or was that in 2021, when they thought everyone that was now working from home was going to be doing so forever? And not only that, they were obviously going to want a fucking pop figure on their desk, overproduce their once very popular figure, have crazy distribution issues caused by a global pandemic, and then, well, people went back to work and the well dried up. Now they're stuck with a massive amount of inventory that they just couldn't sell. Best way to stop the bleeding was to destroy 6 million pop figures. What I want to know, is this the time to sell my collection? Is now the time? Or should I hang on just a few more years until the ultimate demise of this company? Will they be worth more or less at that time? Or will Funko miraculously turn this boat around? I didn't start collecting these things because I wanted to make a profit. I was hooked on getting new ones. The novelty, like most things, wore off very quickly. Since I no longer love these things, maybe there's someone else that will. Is there still a market for Funko Pops? Can I even sell them? Where do I start? If you have experience selling Funko Pops, let me know in the comments section below. What is the best course of action to sell this collection? I go to toy shows quite often, and almost every table has pop figures up for sale. No one seems to be buying these things. Now maybe I'm out of the Funko game and I see things differently. So I reached out to one of the biggest Funko collectors I personally know, Toy Guy 6 over on Instagram. Go ahead, give him a follow. We'll catch up with him in a little bit in this video. But I've been addicted to many things throughout my life, not just Funko Pops. Probably the first thing I was ever addicted to was pop, in fact. Not to get confused with pop figures, I'm referring to the soda pop, I think you call it in the US. In Canada, it's always just been referred to as good old pop. Coca-Cola for the most part. In my early 20s, I found myself drinking to get absolutely shit-faced, not drinking to just have a good time with some friends. By the age of 26, I had quit drinking, and I haven't touched a drop in 14 years. I quit smoking cigarettes a few years after that. I don't believe you can kick an addiction that you don't want to, which is evident by my addiction to cannabis, weed, ganja, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. I have no desire to quit. Unlike weed, I did have a desire to stop collecting pop fig. My main reason was now I was heavily into collecting action figures, which in itself quickly became another addiction. Financially, I didn't have the funds to support both addictions to collecting Funko Pops and action figures. Something had to go. So I decided to give up collecting Funko. If you've been struggling with any kind of addiction and you want to quit, believe you can do it. It's going to be tough, there's no doubt about that. But if you want to quit, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind you can. I still remember the first pop figure I ever bought. Where from and for how much? It's this pop figure here, the bank robber Joker from the Dark Knight movie. I bought this pop figure for $11 Canadian. Now it's worth an estimated $500. Not sure who the hell would pay $500 for this thing, but apparently that's what it'll go for on the aftermarket. At the time, I was pretty much collecting anything and everything Batman that I liked, Batman related. How quickly it became, now I was a Funko collector and collecting Batman shit became secondary. Batman was still my number one go-to pop figure that I bought. I tried to buy all of them that I could at the time, amounting to over 50 Batman designed alone pop figures. That is crazy to me. Back when I stopped collecting them, these things were booming. If you walked into any shop, they were selling like hotcakes and people were buying them. Now, if you walk into any store that sells Funko Pops and then walk in a month later, all those same Funkos will be on the shelf. Hot Topic exclusive Funko Pops used to be hot commodity. Now, when they get released, it's pretty easy to get them. Speaking of Hot Topic, they used to have a full wall of pop figures. Now it's this little tiny section. What are you guys seeing in the US Hot Topics? Let me know in the comment section below, as I can only speak for what I see in Canada. As I mentioned earlier, I've reached out to one of the biggest Funko fan pop collectors I personally know, Kev, my good friend, Toy Guy 6 on Instagram. He was gracious enough to provide me some insight and time on the current collector's thoughts of Funko and what he thinks the future of Funko holds for them. Thanks for joining me, Kev. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer a few questions.
Pleasure's all mine, Matt. I love your channel, so thanks for having me out about toys, and congrats on hitting 1,000 subscribers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I can't believe I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Blows my mind, and still I kind of don't believe it. Let me ask you, just because I think it's the same pop figure, what is the first pop figure that you ever purchased?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure which pop I bought first, but I do know it's got to be between Bank Robber Joker from the Dark Knight, the original Joker from the DC line, or the original Freddy Krueger from the original horror line. They're all purchased around 2013, I think is when they came out, so I guess you could say this is my 10-year anniversary of collecting Funko Pops. And it's ironic because it's something I really didn't think I was going to get into. I mean, when I first saw them, I kind of laughed at them, and then here we are.
Wow, 10 years. I can't believe that. Unbelievable how fast time goes. Tell me, how long after buying your first pop figure did it become an addiction and you became a pop collector?
I'd say my pop addiction really didn't start until probably the first year. After I bought my first pop. Before that, I was just kind of getting the random ones that would kind of fit into my collection, mainly just Batman and horror. Then it really escalated in 2015, 2016, around that time. That's when Funko really started to kind of blow up and get a lot of their licenses and just kind of went crazy with everything and all the lines and all the variants.
Oh man, did they ever. Can't believe how many licenses they have. It's absolutely mind-boggling when you think about it. Pretty much everything, every pop culture character you can think of, Funko has made them, except for maybe Mario. But how many pop figures would you say you have?
According to the Funko app, I have 1,067 pops. It's actually probably closer to like 1,100, just because I'm pretty sure that the app counts the multi-packs as one pop, and I have a number of 2-packs, 3-packs, 4-packs, so yeah, it's definitely higher, and I'm pretty sure I missed just adding some when I started kind of populating my collection in the app. So yeah, once I hit 1,000, that's when I kind of realized I had a serious problem. I gotta probably start shaving down my collection now.
Wow, absolutely incredible amount of pop figures. Having seen it in person, it actually looks like more. My video is about, is it time to sell my pop figures or not? I know I've got pop figures in my collection that I would never sell, like the bank robber Joker, which is my favorite pop in my collection. What's your favorite pop figure in your collection?
So hard for me to pick a favorite pop out of my collection, but off the top of my head, I'll tell you 3 of my favorites. One would be the bank robber Joker. Obviously, that was one of the first pops I bought, like I said. It just has some, obviously sentimental value, plus it's just an iconic character from an iconic movie. Second, I'd say would be Scareglow from the Masters of the Universe set. That's one of my favorite Funko sets. And he's definitely the best pop from that collection, in my opinion. He glows in the dark, and he's just really badass looking. And I'd say the third would be the Freddy Krueger variant with the syringe fingers from Dream Warriors. He's my favorite horror icon, and it's from my favorite horror movie, so that's a no-brainer in my eyes. So many other great lines I could go on, but yeah, those would be 3 of my favorites.
On average, how many pop figures would you say you purchase a year?
How many pops have I purchased a year since becoming a collector? Well, based on the math, I've acquired about 110 to 120 pops per year since I started collecting, which is a very scary thought. And that doesn't even include the other Funko items I've collected in addition to the pops, such as mystery minis, Dorbs, pints, sodas. I will say a few of those can be counted as gifts, but it's still probably around the 100 mark from the ones I've actually purchased myself.
Do you think you've bought less this year compared to years past, or are you on pace for the same this year?
As much as I'd like to think I'm cutting down on my pop purchasing, I think it's been about on par compared to previous years. I'm not as reckless of a buyer as I was when I started really getting into collecting them, but it seems as though we have a lot more access to the US exclusives that we normally wouldn't have had. Sunrise, for example, Sunrise Records carries quite a wide range of pops now, and they're even getting a lot of the same exclusives you'd find at FYE in the US. Also, Toys R Us and Walmart seem to be getting more pop inventory compared to previous years. GameStop and Hot Topic, on the other hand, seem to have cut down their Funko lines over the past 2-3 years, which I find interesting.
That's interesting. I had no idea that we were getting exclusives at Sunrise Records here in Canada that they have at FYE in the US. Very interesting. I agree. I definitely see the difference in Hot Topics in recent years and the amount that they carry for sure. Last question. What do you think about the Funko story of them destroying $30 million worth of pop figures? What do you think the future of Funko holds for them?
I think it's extremely sad that Funko is being forced to destroy $30 million worth of product. It's hard to believe that they weren't able to donate them or have it auctioned off to the highest bidder or something like that. Obviously, there's a lot of logistic hurdles that make it a bit more of a complicated process, and somehow I guess they came to the conclusion that this is the best business option, but surely it can't be a good PR move. Toy companies like Hasbro are getting rid of plastic packaging, as you know, with their products, and Funko was just throwing away $30 million of plastic in the trash. That will likely piss off a few tree huggers, I'm sure. But I'm sure there'll also be quite a few dumpster divers following those garbage trucks to the Everett dump, so if I was closer, I'd probably be one of them. I think their problem is that they just make too many secondary characters from movies, TV shows, etc. that nobody really cares about. And they warm the shelves, or shelves at the warehouse, or in retail, and they end up getting liquidated to the dollar store. They can just get rid of them. They just can't get rid of them fast enough. Their key to continued success, I think, is to stay focused on creating lines that draw interest and make more limited runs for the purpose of maintaining its value and collectability. I do think there is a future in Funko. They've got, licensing for almost everything I can think of, and I think that makes their product timeless. I'm not entirely familiar with their current stock value, but I'm fairly certain it's pretty strong based on the continued growth of collectors. I know quite a few people who've gotten out of pop buying, but I also know of many who are devoted collectors. So the customers are there and they have the money. It's up to the people at Funko to decide if they want to sink or swim.
Thank you so much, Kev. I really appreciate your insight into the mind of a Funko Pop collector. That was a lot of fun. Let's do it again down the road in another video, maybe about action figures. Make sure you go and check out Kev's account on Instagram, Toy Guy, the number 6, and then IX on Instagram. Hit him up. Check out his page. Awesome photographer and the reason why I got in doing this in the first place. So thank you so much, Kev. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me on your Mad About Toys podcast. I'm honored, and congrats on your growing account. I love all of your videos and content. You know so much about the hobby, and I've learned so much from watching your videos. So definitely keep up the good work. And yeah, I mean, it's always fun talking about toys, especially with a good friend like yourself. So let's do it again soon for sure.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Always a pleasure chatting toys with you. You know we can talk toys forever. I think Kev and I might differ on this, but how much longer will Funko be making pop figures? They've tried countless other ventures to try to piggyback off the success of the pop figures, and each one of them failed. Will Funko even be around 10, 15, 20 years from now? Only time will tell. As for selling my collection, I do think now is the time. Except for maybe that one. And that one. And probably that one. Definitely not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Can't see selling that one either. Or those ones.
All done the video.